Finally, for those who are interested in the inner workings of this particular program, I'm going to go ahead and go into what's called the patcher view and see what we can view here. You can see that it's fairly complicated. There's all kinds of things. Over here are the various samples. So I'm going to zero in on this and give you a sense of what that looks like. And these are preloads. So for example, look at the one we use for the trombone. And you can see that there are preload samples, and there were 12 of them for the scale, C3, C sharp 3, D3, etc. And these are simply loaded into the program, triggered by various parts of this patch. In addition, here's the keyboard. I'll zero in on that. And this is done using a series of messages. You can see that the keyboard is done by ASCII numbers. These are your various keyboard triggers that feed into the SF play function. Called it the Moog scale. The Moog scale happens to be the first option of the sounds. So that's sort of the name I chose. But in any case, that's your SF play. This is the triggers for the forward and backward motion. You can see they're locked into the right-hand input for the SF play function. And you simply use a multiplier, and 10 to -5. This is the function used for the chromatic play, simply using a counter. This is the receive mode for this button, the B button of the WiiRemote. I'll show that in a minute. This is the function that I used for the filter. You can see that this is one of the DSP functions that's built into Max, and you can put this in fairly simply. You can get a sense of how this works. In addition, the core to get the WiiRemote work is a particular object called an aka.WiiRemote. This is an object that you can use that detects the Bluetooth transmission from the WiiRemote into the computer. You just have to set it, you actually connect it, and you use also part of this to get the Nunchuk as well. And it's actually running as I'm speaking, and I'm moving the WiiRemote, and you can see that by changing the direction, you get a display here of that. These different colors are your X, Y, and Z axis. So as I tilt the remote left or right or up and down, these lines move up and down on this particular display. When I push buttons, so for example, if I push the B button, you can hear the sound. That was the sound of the chromatic play. Or if I push the plus button, you can see that that's how that gets triggered. So I hope you've enjoyed this presentation of the DJ MXMD sampler keyboard by Mark Edelstein. I've enjoyed creating it, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing how it works. In addition, as I mentioned earlier, there are 3 total sampler keyboards that were created. This one was sort of a overall version, sort of an overview with the samples and the various directions and effects. Another similar project, a program was developed that zeroes in on these keys, but instead of preloading sounds, it has a function that allows one to drop sounds or any sound you want into each of these keys. So you essentially have a bucket of 12 places into which sounds can be created, and then you can trigger the sounds from here. I guess it's sort of like Ableton Live in that you could use the keyboard itself as a sample player. And there are various functions for that. Finally, a third version was done trying to take advantage of the various VSTs that are been developed to work with MaxMSP, and these are built as part of a more complex effects option with the various samples that are preloaded, as you can see in this particular one with the menu drop-down menus, as you can see here. So in any case, this is Mark signing off, and I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Thank you very much.